Hi there. Thank you for coming to King County Emergency Management's virtual disaster preparedness training. I'm Disaster Ready Danny, and you might remember me from our previous video series where other King County emergency management experts taught me and you the basics about disaster preparedness. Well, I've learned a thing or two since then, and now I'm ready to teach you a little bit more about how to be King County ready. Today, we'll be joined by my coworker and mentor, Sophia Lopez.
We rolling? All right.
And a small audience who will be joining us virtually to ask questions throughout the presentation. And by you, of course. So let's get right to it.
We get prepared for work. We get prepared for school. Why not get prepared for that which could be the most devastating? But before you can get prepared, you have to ask yourself, what are you preparing for? So I'm going to ask you, what hazards are you at most risk for?
Flooding,
power outages,
snowstorms,
earthquake,
wildfires,
landslides.
In King County, we're prone to quite a few different types of disasters, both natural and man-made. One tool that you can use to help you really hone down what are you at risk for is the hazardready.org website. You can go and input your personal address or your work address. And when you click on each of those tabs, you can then see what is the level of risk. Are you at a low risk, a medium, or high risk for that specific hazard at that specific address? In King County, the biggest threat that we are preparing for is that of an earthquake. It's not a matter of if, but when. I'm going to ask Danny to talk to you a little bit more about what exactly are we looking at when we plan for earthquakes.
Thanks, Sophia. So when it comes to earthquakes, there's really three main types that we need to know about. The first type is the shallow earthquake. These earthquakes happen pretty frequently, and you might not even know that they happened. The next type is a deep earthquake. This earthquake has a lot more potential for devastating effects on our society. One example of a deep earthquake is the 2001 Nisqually earthquake, which you might have experienced or already be familiar with. This earthquake caused a lot of damage to our region, and similar earthquakes of this type can have the same potential for negative impacts. Following the deep earthquake, we have to worry about the subduction zone earthquake here in the Pacific Northwest. The subduction zone earthquake is the big one that we hear a lot about. The Cascadia fault line sits off the coast of Washington and is a 700-mile-long fault line with the potential to create a 9.0 earthquake or even higher. This earthquake would substantially change life for us here in King County, and planning for it pretty much makes us ready for any other type of disaster, considering how impactful and how dangerous this particular disaster would be. So I guess the first question is, what should you do while an earthquake is happening?
Should you go to a door frame?
That's a popular answer. Once upon a time, the messaging was to go to a door frame, but now, nationally, we are actually recommending that you drop cover and hold on. So let's break that down. Drop cover, hold on. What does that mean? When the shaking starts, drop to the floor, get cover underneath the nearest table, and then hold on to it to make sure that the surface of the table stays over your head and provides coverage from any falling objects that might injure you.
What if I can't get under the table?
If you can't get under a table within 3 seconds or 3 steps of an earthquake starting, you need to drop, cover, and hold on where you are. And you're holding on to yourself. You're covering and curling into a ball. You're protecting your head, your neck, and your vital organs. This is why you curl up.
I know someone in a wheelchair or a walker. What do they do?
For those in a wheelchair, you need to sit and stay in your wheelchair and lock your wheels and tuck and cover your head. Should you use a cane, use your cane as a resource to help you get down to the ground as best and safely as you can. The goal is to protect your vital organs, protect your neck, protect your head.
So what if I'm outside hiking in the woods?
If you find yourself outside when the shaking starts, drop, cover, and hold right where you are. You are safer protecting your vital organs than if you try to run during an earthquake.
What if I'm in a car?
You need to pull your vehicle over and stay in your vehicle. You are safer pulling over and staying in your vehicle until the shaking stops.
So now that we've discussed what to do during an earthquake, what comes next? What does the world look like after an earthquake or any other worst case scenario emergency?
We can expect to see grocery stores running out of food supplies,
Gas stations may not even work.
ATMs not being available. Do you have enough cash on hand?
Utilities may be disrupted.
Perhaps you can't flush your toilet. Perhaps we don't have drinking water.
Cell phone, landlines, or internet might be down after a major earthquake.
We can also expect to see first responders getting to people as fast as they can, as efficiently as they can.
Inaccessible roads might delay first responders, but don't hesitate to call 911.
These are just a few of the things that can go wrong during the worst case catastrophic earthquake type scenario.
But it's not all doom and gloom, folks. You can make it through any emergency as long as you have a plan.
So let's talk about the plan. What is in a plan, right? Ask yourself, who depends on you and what do they need to make it through? One critical element of an emergency preparedness plan is having a mutual meeting location. You might be at work, your children could be in school, whatever your situation is, odds are when the worst case scenario happens, we're all going to be separated from each other. How do you get back together and reunite after the worst case scenario? The plan can help you. Where's your nearest fire station? Where's your nearest police station? You might need to walk there on foot. Identify those routes. Our phones most likely won't be able to hold their charge for longer than a couple of days with no power. Knowing the phone numbers that you would want to communicate with and meeting your neighbors today so that you have that support system established is one step in your plan.
What should I do about my pets during an emergency?
I don't know about you, but I know that my pets are a part of my family. We at King County want you to know that when something happens, you should not leave your pets behind, because we won't. Shelters may or may not allow you to bring your pets into the shelter living space. However, the Pet Care Act, which was created out of Hurricane Katrina, allows for all pet owners to be accepted at a shelter. We are bound and responsible to care for your pets. That is law. That is important for you to know as well, so that you can take that and put that in your emergency plan. Don't forget though, you may be allowed to bring your pet to the shelter, but you also have to do a little homework. You'll need your records, medical records, shot records, any type of healthcare information. You'll need a carrier. You'll need food, identification tags, and you might not be able to stay with your pet, but they will be okay. If you need resources to help get you started on making a plan, you can go to kingcounty.gov/prepare or makeitthrough.org. At those sites, we have resources in multiple languages that can support you in your planning efforts.
Where should I keep my plan?
That's a great question. I keep my plan in my emergency kit because I know that my kit is somewhere where it will be safe and I know where to find it when I need it. So what should be in an emergency kit? At the bare minimum, food, water, and shelter. You can go buy one of those pre-made kits that has enough meals for a family of 4 for 7 days or 3 days. If that works for you, go for it. But please make sure to consider your dietary needs, make sure to consider your taste buds. It's always important to know that in the worst case scenario, our mental health will be just as important as our physical health.
This all sounds a little expensive. I'm concerned my family can afford this. What can I do?
Building an emergency kit doesn't have to be costly. We already have most of what we need in our own home. We just have to get it together and put it in a bag or a box or a suitcase, whatever works for you. Just think about what you need and be creative. What's in your kit?
How do I turn this bad boy on? Headlamp, glow stick, hand crank radio, duct tape, emergency drinking water. And we'll talk about this a little bit more later. Canned food. And I think we all know how important toilet paper is by now.
Don't forget to include something that can help bring you joy or peace of mind. In my kit, I have coloring books for all age demographics. When you're building your emergency kit, don't forget about your important documents: birth certificate, social security card, passport, but also home insurance, health insurance. What documents do you need to get started on the recovery process? What documents do you need to prove that you are you?
I'm on a bunch of medications. How do I secure that for emergencies?
What I do for myself is when it's time to fill my medication, I wait until there is a week's supply left and I refill. And I take that week's supply and I set it aside and I start using my new medication. And I do that every so often, making sure to reuse that little bit that I've set aside. But over time, I eventually have a solid month set aside of the particular medication. Some of my medicines I get already set up to come in the mail and I get a 90-day supply. So look to your providers and see if that's an option for you. Now, we've talked about a lot of things that we need, both pets and humans alike. One of the big things that I mentioned of the 3 bare minimum supplies needed for your kit was water. Let's dive into that a little bit more.
One of the most critical aspects of disaster preparedness is having enough water to get you through 2 weeks on your own. 2 weeks worth of water for a whole family of 5 is a lot of water. We're recommending at least 1 gallon of water per person per day. So when you really think about that, it starts to add up. But we've got some tips to help you out. Most homes have a 50 to 55 gallon water heater, which can double as a reservoir of drinking water in an emergency. Another source of water is the toilet tank, which might not seem very appealing, but in an emergency, that is potable water which you can drink, but also you can use it for cooking and cleaning, which is incorporated into the 1 gallon per person per day suggestion. You could also choose to store water in water bottles. However, this does take up a lot of space and you do have to rotate them every 6 months to avoid any contamination into the water from the plastic. Another option is to invest in a water filtration system. A water filtration system will filter water for a family of 5 for up to 3 years, so it's a great option if you want a reliable and trustworthy solution for getting up to that 1 gallon per person per day suggestion. In a pinch, you can actually boil water to make it drinkable. Make sure to keep it at a rolling boil for 3 to 5 minutes. And as an absolute last resort, you can use bleach to purify water. However, make sure to do this safely, and for instructions on how to do so, visit the Washington State Department of Health's website.
When we talk about our emergency kit, it's important to also think about, where should I keep this thing? Ask yourself, where do I go in and out of my home? If you enter from the garage, perhaps the best place for you is to keep your important things in the garage. If you have a closet by your main front door, like I do, I keep all of my things in there. But also, do you work? And do you drive to get to your work? Those 2 locations should also have something. Even if it's a water bottle or a phone charger, any little thing that you do is that much more than not doing anything at all.
Are there places to avoid storing my kit?
I live on the top floor, and I have a patio with a large storage space in there. But I don't keep anything of importance out there, because I don't know that I'll be able to get to it should the worst case earthquake take place. We've talked about a lot of things today that you can do to prepare your family, including having a plan. But how can you prepare your home? There are steps that you can take to help limit the debris after a catastrophic earthquake. Do you like hanging stuff up on your wall? So do I. One thing that I do that helps make sure my items are not going to fall off the wall, resulting in broken glass everywhere. I have all of my paintings hanging up with a single wire. That wire hangs on a nail. That nail has another wire wrapped around it, wrapped around the first wire. What does that tell you? When the earthquake happens, my stuff will fall off those nails, but they will hang, and at least I know the glass won't break on those pictures. I also like to keep a lot of knickknacks in my home. How do I keep my knickknacks in place? I use museum putty, but you can find any kind of putty or sticky substance that is good for keeping things in place. Stick that under your treasured items. Help keep them in place during the shaking. There are straps that exist that you can purchase to help secure large pieces of furniture in place, such as bookshelves, stackable washer and dryer, or your refrigerator. Taking these steps to fortify your home are gonna help you in the long run. They will lessen the amount of debris that you have to clean up and lessen the amount of risk that you have to you and your family. If you are a natural gas user, like most people in King County, you have a natural gas meter. After a major earthquake, sometimes our utilities can be disrupted. If you ever hear a hissing sound, smell rotten egg, or the dials on your natural gas meter are going haywire, those are 3 key indicators that you are experiencing a natural gas leak, and you should turn off your natural gas. Keep in mind though, when you turn off your natural gas, it is no easy matter to get it turned back on. You need to work with your local natural gas provider to get that turned back on. When you identify your natural gas meter, you'll notice that the valve is perpendicular, up and down. That means it's open. If you've identified any of those 3 indicators that I mentioned, you'll want to turn that meter close sideways, horizontal. And that's how you can turn off your natural gas. But again, you have to work with your natural gas provider before turning it back on. So what can happen if the utilities go down? Well, for one, you might not be able to take a shower or flush your toilet. Now, if our message is shelter in place, and we're talking a couple of weeks, how are you gonna flush your toilet? I have kitty litter in my emergency kit. I also have a bucket, and I have a styrofoam pool noodle. I can take a garbage bag and put it in my bucket and fill it with kitty litter. I will cut a slit down that styrofoam pool noodle, and I'm gonna cut it to size around my bucket. Now I have a scent-controlled toiletry system, and I'm gonna keep it in my bathroom as long as I need to. In a worst case scenario, we're gonna have to get creative. We've talked about our hazards. We made our plan. We built a kit creatively. What's next?
That's a great question, Sophia. I think now is the time to come together and make it through as a community. The time to meet your neighbors is not after an earthquake happens or any other disaster. It's right now. Get to know who lives in your immediate surroundings. Get to know who are the more vulnerable members of your community. Get to know what resources are available in your community. Maybe one of your neighbors has a generator that you can use. Maybe somebody in your community is an EMT that can provide first aid. These are all things that you should know ahead of time and should be included into your emergency kit and emergency plan, rather than be finding out as the emergency is developing. So we've covered a lot of ground today, but don't forget, staying informed and staying connected is a critical part of being prepared for any disaster. And the best way to stay informed and stay connected is to sign up for Alert King County. You can do this at kingcounty.gov/alert. Alert King County is an emergency notification system that can provide you with critical information after an emergency has happened, whether it be through phone calls, text messages, or emails. Alert King County is only used for critical life-saving information, so you won't get any spam calls sent to you. It has geocoding capabilities, so if an emergency is happening in North Bend and you live in Shoreline, don't worry, you won't get that notification. However, if something is happening in an area that is relevant to you, you definitely will hear about it. Another great way to stay informed and stay connected is to follow us on social media. We often post trainings, tips, and events that can help you get King County ready.
We know we live in a beautiful place in the Pacific Northwest, but with that comes a lot of natural hazards that we have to be aware of and be prepared for. So I hope that you feel a little bit more secure in your home, a little bit more ready to go out there and meet your neighbors, and please know that we're here for you to help you through this process.
Thank you for coming to King County's virtual disaster skills training. If you have any other questions, please shoot us an email. So get out there and get King County ready now.